Well, the Oilers get set for an important 4-game road trip and take some momentum heading into Tampa Bay. As I'm pleased to welcome in Jack Michaels and Bob Stauffer to this edition of the panel presented by Sportsnet. Jack, a very eventful week here in Oil Country. The Oilers get 3 straight victories, 2 under their new head coach. What have you thought of the body of work so far under Knoblauch?
Well, I mean, you're 2-0. You're batting 1,000 right now. And, you know, the win on Wednesday night might have some carryover effect. And the reason I say that is this was the first time, even in the Islander victory, that the building felt as it did earlier in 2023, as it did in 2022. This place was rocking. And it's because the Oilers' furious rally this time was cashed in. They finished the job. They weren't goalied. They found a way to get the equalizer, and then they found a way to get the game winner on a night where quite often they weren't always the best team. They were the better team in some of the other earlier losses, but that doesn't matter. They got the result tonight. They leave the building feeling that they were in a familiar place energy-wise as much as anything, and that should catapult them into this upcoming road trip, which doesn't offer many gimmies.
Yeah, it's a tough road trip. You know what? They weren't perfect in either of the 2 games that Kris Knoblauch's coached, but the one thing they didn't do is they didn't panic in either of those 2 games. And the sense of calm that I think that Knoblauch coaches with, maybe they didn't beat themselves. And tonight it was penalty killing. You know, there was not a great penalty taken by Adam Ernie in the 3rd period. And if they don't kill that one off, they don't win this game. They killed off 5. And a couple of them are when Seattle had a chance to go up by 3. So there was some poise tonight, and then as Jack mentioned, and then they kind of grabbed some lightning in the bottle. And end result here is 2 very different wins, but I'm with Jack, one that you can kind of galvanize around a little bit.
The other thing, Tony, is, you know, Bob mentioned the penalty in the 3rd period, but the Oilers showed discipline down the stretch. There was the retaliatory penalty that Oliver Bjorkstrand took that the Oilers didn't follow up on. Then Darnell Nurse caught an elbow down the stretch of the game that he didn't retaliate on that could have been a penalty, and then it was Darnell Nurse making the diving, lunging stop that created the comeback. So I thought the Oilers at times showed restraint. They knew they were in it. They knew that any error, mental or physical, could have taken them out of it. And then they got a couple of big saves from Stuart Skinner down the stretch as well.
The other beauty, and obviously Skinner's given them some good starts here of late, but it's been different guys every night, right? So the game in Seattle, Hyman scores 3 goals from, 8 feet away.
Kane did the same thing on Wednesday.
Right, and then you take a look on Monday, and it was Leon Draisaitl with an even-strength goal, 2 power plays assists, and a shorthanded assist. So different offensive leaders, good goaltending. Evan Bouchard with a subtle 3-assist contribution in Wednesday's game as well.
Jack, let's maybe talk about the player that you just mentioned, Evander Kane. Obviously, his 9th career hat trick, 7th in the regular season. He now has 14 points in his last 10 games, but he's doing it more than just on the score sheet. Out of all players in the NHL that have 10-plus points, he leads that group with 56 hits, Jack.
Well, what he's done is he's worked himself out of a tough early season stretch. Evander Kane, like the rest of the team, was not very good in the first 4 or 5 games. And what did he do? He went back to an old tactic that we've seen former Oilers like Patrick Maroon employ. He took a fight with Brendan Dillon against Winnipeg, and since that game, he's been much more present in the game physically, and it's translated into, they always tell you, you know, you work on one area of the game, you're going to get results at the other end. And Evander Kane has seen that come to fruition. And as Bob noted, what he's done is he's played in straight lines. And his is a power game. He's got a decent shot, but he doesn't have the best hands in the league. But if you're shooting from 5 feet in, you can power that puck into the net. Even on the equalizer tonight, he fanned initially, but he stayed right where he was. He did not leave the front of the net, and he powered it in on his second opportunity. So Evander Kane is playing that classic power forward game, and I would trace it all the way back 3 weeks ago to that fight he took with Brendan Dillon, because Kane's game for me begins with his physical presence out on the ice.
All right, how about the big physical presence in the net? Stuart Skinner, Bob, in the last 3 victories, has turned aside 82 of 85 shots. That's a .965 save percentage during this Oilers win streak.
Yeah, a couple things on Stuart. First of all, I think that the Oilers clarified the situation by sending Jack Campbell down. And it basically said, Stuart, it's your time. You're running with it. So, I thought he played pretty well in San Jose. He just got really unlucky, especially on the second goal against. Obviously, found ways to get victories in the 3 straight wins. It's a modest winning streak, and it's a modest stretch for Skinner, but he's clearly settled down in between the pipes. He's looking a little bit bigger at goal. And closer to what we saw last year when he put up a .913 save percentage and second in Calder voting.
Jack, we know that Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl were empathetic toward Jay Woodcroft and Dave Manson losing their jobs on Sunday. But what do you think of the Oilers captain especially? Of course, he went goalless in 9 games, gets on the board on Monday, and scores in 2 straight hockey games. What do you think of the leadership's response here?
Well, I think Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl understand that the resurgence for this hockey club begins and ends with their hockey games. But what they've seen, and to Bob's point, is they've gotten some help bringing this club out of the slump. It hasn't been those 2 players and those 2 players alone accounting for this 3-game winning streak. And I think, again, to go back to what I said earlier in terms of carryover effect, that's going to perk their ears up. That's going to give them the understanding that their teammates are with them, that guys like Hyman and Kane and Bouchard are going to help them through this slump. And that's why you call it a leadership core. And that's why we try to stay away from words like dynamic duo, because ultimately dynamic duos do not pull a club through a long season and a long playoff run. You need that balance, you need that depth, and you need guys number 3, 4, 5, 6 to help pull a team whenever it starts to slide.
And hopefully for Edmonton, they're going to get another guy that I think we just didn't get to see get fully up and running, but I think Connor Brown's going to play on Saturday. The Dylan Holloway injury, he's out week to week, according to Kris Knoblauch. He was just starting to round into form. And Seattle dressed obviously a better lineup on Wednesday night than they had. They got Eberle back. Tanev, who can really skate. And I think Edmonton lacked a little bit of speed further down their lineup, and Brown's return is going to help them in that regard.
All right, well, speaking of Saturday, the Oilers look to extend their winning streak to 4 when they kick off a 4-game road trip on Saturday afternoon when they visit the Tampa Bay Lightning.